Is there a difference between grafting out of the stump or just putting on the end of the branches? Hello everybody, today I am at this amazing farm. Another wonderful grower here in local South Florida where I'm blessed to live. We're going to meet Chris, and I'm putting all the information for her farm below the video. Definitely contact her, and she does have mangoes, trees for sale. She has mangoes for sale during mango season, and she has grafting budwood for sale, and even has fertilizers on her website. So check out the links below the video and get a pen and pencil because you're going to learn a lot today in this video.
Well, what I like to do in most circumstances when you have a really old tree, these trees are probably close to 100 years old. So I like to cut them back and then wait for new shoots to form and then graft onto those shoots. So that's my way of top working a tree. I usually do a whole lot of grafts on a tree. I counted one smaller tree that I top worked, and I think I got up to about 80 grafts on that one. So a tree like this that had one basically lateral branch and then a few other places, I probably put 30 to 40 grafts on this particular one.
Wow, and I'm sure over the years you've gotten a better success rate, but when you first started, was it, what do you think the rate was, 50% or less?
Well, actually, I think if you just follow a few basic principles on grafting, that you get a lot of success early on. And this way of cutting back a large tree and then grafting onto shoots has been very successful for me. It's a lot easier to do that than grafting potted plants for, like we do some grafting of potted plants for resale, or for sale, I should say. And that we have a lower success rate. There's just so much momentum coming up from those roots that it just is almost a no risk situation. The basics, two things to keep in mind is you don't want your fresh, your Scion, fresh graft in direct sun. That the Scion will definitely, burn, and it's basically a bad thing. And the second thing that can really destroy grafts out in the open like this is wind. And even when they have started to grow, or probably especially when they've started to grow, there's more for the wind to push against. And like, for instance, Hurricane Irma came along when I had many hundreds of grafts on trees around the grove. I went around and reinforced the union with, stronger tape and everything like that. But still, I probably lost 100 grafts, and that's
wow. Wow. And to protect it from the sun, what do you put over it once you've done the graft on a tree like this?
Sort of my strategy on a lot of trees, especially smaller trees, is that we'll cut back the north side of the tree first, graft onto that, let those grafts grow out quite a bit, and then cut other parts of the tree. So, the original grafts get shaded by the original tree, and then as you keep adding more grafts, not only do you get some protection from what remains of the first variety, but then the new grafts that the first grafts that you put on hopefully start to shade too.
So you're not necessarily adding stuff on top of the graft to protect it from the sun, you're just doing it strategically with the tree.
Right. It's like, I know that people do use some, provide some shade, probably most commonly a little screening or something like that. And basically, I just don't have the patience for that. Yeah. So I work with, like what my personality, and that works for me. That's another tip, is if you're going to put more than one variety on, one root system, try to have the fruit look radically different from each other, because that way you can say, oh yeah, it's Super Julie. And, if it's something that's really close, it's really, when you're picking hundreds of mangoes, it's too much for the brain some days to try and figure that out. This particular tree, we top worked to Jacqueline. I think it was a seedling tree. It wasn't, so I figured we put a nice variety onto it. Then it looked like it was really dying. This is wonderful. I'm not sure how it's doing. It's this whole side of the trunk is rotten, but it's had like a second life. But while it was looking terrible, I planted seeds, and so the 3 seedlings next to it, because my thought was, at least we'll have some good roots, have some something to graft onto, and so I planted these, and I'm going to top work these seedlings. But right now, because I planted 3 seeds, or 4 seeds, actually one of them didn't make it, of the same variety, I am harvesting Scions from this to put on another plant. So in case it's, these are some interesting variety, because they are seedlings, you don't know what the fruit's going to be like for many years. I'm just grafting, 1 Scion each onto another location. So these can just be ordinary rootstock after that. We don't have to worry about what would the plant have been, because we have like
that's a great question. So the advantage of doing that and not just leaving these there is when you take the Scion off this and put it on another tree, it'll produce mangoes much faster than if you just left this here and waited, right?
Yeah, and there's no reason to devote a whole tree to finding out if it's going to be a good variety. If you can make one branch of another tree that variety, you can get, easily 3 varieties onto a tree. But if it's a larger tree, you can make it much more, put many more varieties on it. And then, of course, my strategy in planting seeds is that it's low labor, because I will, even though I intend to water things every day, I don't. Fortunately, we have an automatic irrigation system for many of the plants, but if I put seeds down and they don't germinate, not a big loss. We can always put more seeds down. And they'll have great root systems. If I put an existing tree in there, then it would require watering it for a while, at least a month. But if you put a seed down, it's going to sort of grow roots and grow leaves at its own pace. And so definitely a good strategy for at least this growth. I want to point out this one little one here. This was sort of a chance seedling. I really don't think I planted it here, but I thought, what the heck, it's growing, so let it grow. And what I've done here is grafted. We were just talking about those 3 seedlings over there that I wanted to save, and so here are grafts from those parts of each of those trees. So that was, tree number 3 there. It's important to mark your grafts. That's something, advice that I don't always take for myself, and then I get, but this is tree number 2, and then this is tree number 1, which it's got a little bit of promise coming out. The Scion's still green, but it hasn't made leaves, but there's pretty good bud there. So anyway, that's the bank.
So how long would it take something like that to fruit?
If this were on a decent root system, it would possibly take 3 or 4 years because of it being a seedling tree that you're taking Scions from. But it all depends on your environment. I get these comments from people in California, Arizona, and some of the Caribbean islands, where they say seedlings will fruit in 2 to 3 years just on their own roots. So it really depends on the environment that you happen to be growing in. This is a tree that it had pretty good fruit, but I wasn't wanting to grow pretty good, so I have cut it back. And this, I thought that the project was going to be a lot quicker, but I got distracted. This particular part of the tree is grafted.
Was that an example of what you were saying earlier about cutting back one side and grafting and then leaving the other side till later?
Yeah, here's the cut right here, and you see that these branches are rather significant coming off of that area. Now this is a more recent cut, and these branches are much younger. They're not as big. That's, I left this as shade for this, and then cut this back afterwards.
Okay, that's a perfect example of what she was talking about. Great.
So this tree is originally Kent. I left most of the tree Kent. But you can see there's a big difference in leaves, both the shape of the leaf and the color. This is, pull one off here so you can see, it's just different. This is it has a different ratio of length to width.
Clearly, yeah.
And so, anyway, Kent is a very nice variety. Unfortunately, it is prone to mango bacterial black spot. Last year we didn't really have much problem with it, so I'm glad I only cut half of the tree down. But on this other side, I put one of the new ZIL varieties, which is Pina Colada. And Pina Colada is really a nice variety. When this is an example of when you put something on a big root system, it grows really well. It's just been, like growing and growing. I've been cutting it back over the years, and so it doesn't get too big, but it is really pretty the way it's ended up growing, I think. It's a lot of branching and, fairly dense foliage. But Pina Colada, the fruit is fairly small, and it does have a pineapple coconut flavor, which is why it was named that.
Can you show us an example of where you added this to the tree?
Oh, sure. Probably, this is the original Kent, trunk here. I cut here, and then this is one graft right here, and there's another graft over here. So basically, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that there aren't any random shoots coming out that you haven't grafted. You want, like this one. This is a Kent right here, and I have to come back and trim that off because I don't want Kent to come into this area of the tree. So when you're top working, you make sure that all the energy goes to one. The variety that you want to be on the tree or that part of the tree, and the rest of the things you take off. Even if this, branch, it's in the shade, you think it's never going to amount to much, sometimes it will just take off, and then suddenly it will grow, larger than the other things and dominate.
And that's another area?
Yeah, all of this stuff should be grafted.
What about this one, though?
Yeah, that one's grafted right down here. You see that?
Yeah.
And so just about everything. This particular shoot is not grafted. I'll probably eliminate that because it's getting so much shade from these more earlier grafts that it decreases the long-term success of any graft here. So when I come back and trim this one, I'll come trim this other one also.
So that's part of the Kent?
Yeah, that is Kent also.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Very good. Okay. Now I also see here, are you getting these ready for?
Yeah, we're grafting the Pina Colada. We do more and more of our own grafting because of having a shortage of mango trees in Florida. These are Scions that I'm prepping for grafting. And so that we can have Pina Colada trees to sell, because we're pretty much out of Pina Colada right now.
And that's a great, I'm glad we got to see this, because this is just great how to do it. When a tree starts budding, you take off the leaves here.
Yeah, this is the first stage, is that this is what I do anyway.
Sure.
I usually cut the leaves off of their stems. And then as the buds start forming, which they form right above where the stem is, this one's too fresh to even show that, then these leaf stems will just fall off on their own. But you want to wait until the buds are pretty big. These are still fairly small. This has got it's coming along. It's not quite ready. But let's see if we have, that one's, I have the luxury of waiting a little bit for, this one's probably the best so far that I've seen.
Okay.
So when those buds start getting prominent, but you don't want them to get too big because that, sometimes they can't, the grafted plant can't support a new graft. But a little bit bigger than that, you put them onto either a existing tree that you've cut back or onto a small seedling, and hopefully you get Pina Colada or whatever variety you're doing.
And besides the grafts, you also sell these as well, right?
Yeah, we do sell Scions. It's just getting to be Scion season because you want the trees to be, growing actively and also be past the risk of flowering. So there's only certain varieties that we are preparing Scions from, and that's because we want whoever is grafting, whether it's us or somebody we are selling the Scions to have the greatest chance of success. And if you put a Scion on and it produces flowers instead of leaves first, it reduces your chance of success quite a bit.
And this is great. When you're buying a tree too, you want to make sure you're getting what you want to get and not the wrong mango tree. That's why it's great to come to somebody like Chris, because she's doing it herself, or one of our workers is doing it here. They know what it is. So the chance that you're going to get something that you didn't buy is very, very little compared to if you go to a popular commercial place that you don't know. You don't always know. I've heard people get a mango tree and then they find out it's not the one they bought, and it's not good after many years of waiting.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot better, especially me. I was the weak link, I think, at marking plants when we graft them. And we usually mark them in a couple ways. But the ones that somehow lose their mark, or I can't decipher my own handwriting after they've grown and stuff, those plants aren't sold until we have, we'll keep putting them in bigger pots until they fruit and we're sure of the variety. So, it's one of the things that we hope that we're 100%, correct on, is selling the right variety. But I have to admit that there's no such thing as perfection. So hopefully we're close to it anyway.
Well, it's good that they do it here, and it's great. Yeah, wonderful varieties.
So this is a kit tree that had gotten way too big, and so we made some rather large cuts on the tree. And when it started sending out new shoots, I started grafting. And this is one of the new varieties from Gary'sville. This is peach cobbler. So we've got peach cobbler here, and there are a few other grafts around the tree. So after these grafts and others, I definitely have to do some more to get the peach cobbler really established. But this at least half of the tree will be peach cobbler, possibly all of it. Peach cobbler is one of those varieties that doesn't look like much. It's a fairly small fruit and not colorful, but boy does it have a following. It has a peach flavor and cinnamon flavor, and so that's why they called it peach cobbler. So right here is orange sherbet. And orange sherbet is a really nice variety, a new variety from Gary'sville. And this particular root system was a seedling of Mulgoba, and it wasn't a superior seedling. It was good, but didn't rate well against the original Mulgoba. So cut it back, and you'll notice when I do this radical cut, with a straight trunk, I cut it at an angle, and that reduces the rot. If you cut it, completely flat, when the healing begins around the wound, it will actually trap water in the center. So this sheds the water until later on this will be ringed by this kind of growth, but it does allow this radical cut to heal better.
Now, what year did you top work this tree?
Well, it was the same year that orange sherbet came out. I think it was about 2.5 years ago.
Oh wow! And it's grown.
But this is not it.
Okay.
The very impressive fruitful one over here. This, I guess we can work it into the video. This. With Hurricane Wilma, this was also a seedling of Mulgoba, and Hurricane Wilma twisted the tree. And when you have very strong winds twisting a tree, what happens is it actually separates the bark from the core of the tree. And long term, it's not a good thing. It looks like a healthy tree for a while, but long term, not good. So we cut this tree back to where the damage was ended. And I wish that we had cut it back further because, it's a very tall tree. But once it started sprouting out, we started grafting. So Of course. So right here is one of Gary Zill's new varieties. It is Juliet. And Juliet is, a lot of people think, and this is sort of heresy, but think it's an improvement over Julie. And it's a, this one's not going to stay on the tree. You see it yellow at the tip, so we might as well just take it off now. But Julie is a cross between Julie and Gary. And so Gary gives it a certain smoothness and a little bit of, through the coconut flavor, very sweet. So it just is, you definitely get the Julie flavor, but you get like another dimension to it. But anyway, we put Juliet on a lot of the lower branches, and it is just very productive. At least this tree is.
So are these two trees just close together?
Yeah, because see right over here is the Mulgoba tree. This tree used to be huge. It might look huge now, but it looks tiny compared to what it used to be. It was at least twice the height of what it is now.
Wow.
And the branches came, over here. And so it was, the fruit would fall, most of the fruit is on the edge of the canopy, the outside of the canopy. And so all of the things that sprouted here initially were seeds of Mulgoba, and the younger ones are probably seedlings of the seedling of Mulgoba. But anyway, so on this, back to our original reason to get here is that this is orange sherbet, and I was hoping for fruit by now, and it is just fruit of Juliet, not any orange sherbet fruit. So that's a little bit sad. But all of the branches have been grafted. All of the shoots have been grafted to orange sherbet. So I'm guessing next year will be a good orange sherbet year.
And even though these trees are close together, and once those shoots are successful, you're not concerned with how close they are together?
I mean, there's definitely some strategy that you don't want one tree to dominate, and this one is already taller, so it's already getting more sunshine and such. So I hate to cut fruit off of a tree, like everything off of the tree, but after this Juliet is finished for the year, we'll cut back some of these branches, maybe 6 or 8 feet, and so that the orange sherbet will get more sunshine, so more fruit.
Yeah, and it's just an example. If people are doing high intensity gardening, these trees are so close together, and they can be very successful if you handle them the right way.
Yeah, so you definitely just want to try and provide for the needs of both trees, and one of them is always going to be pushy, try and sort of dominate the space, but as long as you have the tools to keep them trimmed back, you're okay.
And you left these seedlings here. What's your strategy with those?
It's another project.
Okay.
So I've been harvesting Scions from the seedlings, just putting them on other roots and see if they end up being good or not.
Okay.
But here's a recent topwork project. This used to be a Duncan tree, and Duncan is a large tree when it was young, and this tree next to it was young. Then it was doing pretty well. But as you can tell, this tree is wanting to be bigger. And I thought this is a great opportunity to top work because we have all of the shade here, and it makes it an easy place to top work. Once again, I cut this at an angle. It's not a huge angle, but shed the water, and then selected shoots in different areas around the tree to top work. So I have top worked this to one of Gary Zill's new varieties called Carla. And Carla is a late season variety. It's really a nice variety. For some reason, it's not commonly produced, but hopefully, I'll have a fair number of plants that I'm grafting this year in case anybody else wants Carla.
So what's your plan when this gets bigger?
To trim this back.
Okay, and what?
This particular variety, I grafted part of the tree. As you can tell, this was the original tree that I cut back, and you see how this is interesting how it heals. So it's this branch is providing all of this. It's eventually going to cover this whole area. But this branch is Madame Blanc, which is a Haitian variety that's just very productive. And I had a customer that really wanted me to grow it. So I started to grow it, and then the customer moved away. So anyway, I have it in one other place in the grove, so I don't need this particular branch long term. So probably after the mangoes are ready, like the same day maybe, that I pick the last mangoes of Madame Blanc, this whole branch is coming down. I will probably, I might cut it here first. I'm not sure. I'm not going to cut it all the way back to this cut area, because what I'll do is I will graft onto shoots that come out of wherever I cut. And I might graft the original variety back on, or I might graft some more Carla. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, I'll try and make it easy for myself when it comes to mango season, as far as trying to figure out which variety is where.
Sure. Do you remember what the original was?
Yeah, the rest of the tree here is Tess Pollock.
Oh, Tess Pollock, yes.
This is, it has a second flowering on some of the branches, and so I have the ladder here scout everything out, but I was wanting to graft Tess Pollock, and I've been holding off because I don't want to graft flowering Scions.
Yes, and everybody get to Chris's YouTube channel. She has wonderful videos on grafting, and everything we're discussing here, she goes in great detail on her channels about that.